Ooh. What happened? There's that child on the bicycle. Sandy doesn't even care. I'm controlling the spacing. Hi, Sandy. Hi, Sandy. You can drag that leash. You can drag that leash, Sandy. Yes, good girl. Hey guys, this is Martin Wright from Argos Dog Training up here in Boston, all the way at the top of the map towards the right, you know the place. We're out here at the park at Walsh Field in Boston, and we're just hanging out. During COVID, this time of social distancing, it is an excellent time to talk about spacing and how we use space as a way to influence the way that our dog feels about the environment that they are in. Also, Sandy's here and she's practicing sitting on the leash. We made a video about that as well, and there should be a link to that video somewhere here. So check it out. And we're practicing this at a park where there are kids screaming and so forth, crying and having fun, playing. All right, so let's get into it. Let's talk about structure a bit. So the reason why that we focus on spacing and controlling spacing is because it helps the dog to understand that we're in charge and that we have some influence or control over the environment that the dog is in. So we control how close that dog or that person is going to get to you. We control where you're going to be positioned, whether it's on the couch or on the floor. We control whether you're going to be at the door when guests come in or not. So as we go through this video today, we'll be talking about different scenarios and about how we can use our spacing in those scenarios in order to help our dog to behave in the way that we want them to behave. Some things that I'm going to keep in consideration as I'm in the house with my dog just on a regular basis is, one, I don't want the dog to crowd me. Right? So if at any time I want space from the dog, like a dog, I don't want the dog always on my lap, on top of me. I got work to do and things going on. If the dog is crawling in and bumping me with his nose and just basically invading my space, that is going to be a problem. So I want to control the spacing there. The other aspects that we have to consider, or other things we have to consider about spacing, especially around the house, is for dogs, the higher they are off the ground, when they lift themselves off the ground, their status in the group becomes higher. So if you have a dog that's used to being on the couch and you have other behaviors that you want to change, the first thing that you can change is just teaching the dog to stay off of that space, right? And it's a safe way to be able to change the dog's mind about something, and it'll give you experience to help you to be able to change your dog's mind about other things as well. All right, so the whole time that we've been recording here today, there's been a lot of noise in the environment. One thing you didn't hear is Sandy. Sandy was perfectly an angel, but these guys are out here playing softball. We're at a park in my neighborhood, so you're seeing basketball playing. Sandy, in the old days, she would not be able to tolerate any of this kind of stuff. There are children on bicycles. She used to bark and spin in circles, but nowadays she's doing really well with all this. So yeah. That's what's going on. That's how come you're hearing all that noise as we're talking. It's pretty cool though. It's good to be out in the weather while it's still nice here in Boston. I'm sure we'll be doing some outdoor stuff when it gets cold with all the snow, and it'll be pretty. Pretty. Sandy! Hi, girl. Hi, girl. You've come a long way, my little one. Hey, get off my foot. Gotta control that spacing. Good girl. Good job. Woo. All right, so another time that we have to really be considering or thinking about spacing is when we're out about with our dog. We need to make sure that as we're walking our dogs, that they're not cutting in front of us and taking away our space, the path that's directly in front of us. We want to make sure that the dog is not pulling too much, trying to get away from us. That's also a control of space, making sure that they know where their boundaries are. And as we're walking, we're able to communicate all these ideas to the dogs, so that way they know this is the space in which you're supposed to walk right now. And that helps us with our leadership. It helps us with our communication skills with the dog. So one of the biggest questions that I get is, how do we control that spacing on the walk? How does that happen? From puppy owners, as the puppy doesn't really want to walk yet, so they're dragging along behind, and it's not, we're not saying you have to be in this space. Or for dog owners, a lot of times the dog is pulling a lot. That takes much more study and practice. The biggest tip I could give you in a short clip right now is engagement. Engaging with your dog, working on the games like chase the treat, luring your dogs. I've made videos about those, or episodes about those already. We'll put links in this about that. But learning how to lure the dog and how to play those games will engage with your dog, and that will help you to influence the spacing that the dog gives. There's also leash technique involved in that as well. How we hold the leash, how we communicate through the leash. So I got Sandy once again, and this is just a demonstration of controlling spacing as we're walking. A lot of this is what's a thing called spatial pressure, or some people call it body pressure, where just from when I move, you can see whenever I do that, Sandy moves out of my way because I claim that space that's in front of her, right? She also understands the leash. She's still being trained, so she is wearing a pronged training collar, but you can see most of the time the leash is short and it's not active. But then she does know when she leaves and goes out of bounds, like right there, when she goes out of bounds and she goes too far, because then she will feel, the end of the leash, that she got to the end, right? This is a big deal with spacing, right there. Good. This is a big deal to help us with our spacing. Excellent. And you can see, because I'm working with her on keeping her space, she is paying more and more attention to me as we walk along. See? That's nice. Good job, Sandy. Yes. Okay, so another time that we might have to consider space is when we are not in control of the space in our direct environment. Maybe there's a lot of people around. Maybe it's post-COVID, we're on the elevator and we got a lot of people, maybe even other dogs in the vicinity. In those situations, what we need to do is we need to bring our dog into our personal space, because my personal space will not be invaded, while my dog's personal space, people like to reach out and pet the dog and touch the dog and so forth. So if I move the dog into what I call post position, like Sandy is in now, then I'll be able to move around the world, and I'll be able to keep her in a safe position where nobody's gonna reach out to touch her, and yet I have control of all this space here. So all this space is my space, and nobody's coming in here to invade our space together. And I think that's very helpful, especially when you're dealing with anxious dogs or nervous dogs who might feel crowded by too many people in the environment. The most important thing to remember here is to be aware of your spacing. Recognize when your dog is excited. Recognize the distance in which your dog acknowledges others, strangers, and how that distance affects their behavior. If your dog is reactive, see what happens when you cross the street. Is your dog still reactive? See what happens at great distances. When does your dog notice the other dog? Those things are very important, and they will help you to help your dog to do the behavior that you want them to do. Leadership in the dog world is controlling timing and spacing. Those two things go together. As we're controlling spacing, we want to be looking for the time when our dog is most calm. And that's when we shrink the space. All right? If you like what you see here today, then definitely subscribe to our channel. Give us a thumbs up. Check the description below for all the links to all our other social media accounts and places where you can see us. Check out the website, www.argostraining.com, and you'll learn more about Argos training there. Until the next time, enjoy your day and enjoy your dog. Hi, Sandy. Hi, Sandy. You could drag that leash. You could drag that leash, Sandy. Yes, good girl. Good girl, sweet stuff. There, finally. Yes, there you go. Excellent. You're learning how to spin? Learning how to spin. There you go. And plots. Excellent, good girl. Good girl. I'm telling you, I wish we had video of that. I wish we had video.